Tampa General Hospital and USF Health Morsani College of Medicine are bringing the power of academic medicine to Palm Beach County and the Treasure Coast. For nearly 2 decades, Tampa General has been ranked as one of the nation's best hospitals. And for over 50 years, Tampa General has been Florida's leading academic health system. Learn more about their growing network of physicians at tgh.org/the Palm Beaches. So welcome back to the Palm Beach North Podcast. I'm your host, Dual Martinez, and today I am sitting down with Cressman Bronson, Regional President of PNC Bank, Southeast Florida. He's someone that I've known for a really long time, and I've admired this guy for a really, really long time. So Cressman, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the show.
You bet, Noel. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Cressman, so we're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about the bank. We're going to talk about your family.
Yeah.
But I want to start with your story.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people don't really know your story and your background. You've had a really tough childhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you okay? Would you be okay with talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of life lessons in there, and it really started as a young kid. My mother got married young and got divorced young and raised my older brother and I for the most part until she got remarried. And there was a lot of observations made at a young age that, you know, life's sometimes tough. And there's a work ethic that's involved there. I saw my mother work very hard and trying to provide the basics for us, and the importance of family and being around grandparents and uncles and cousins, and that was a good takeaway. But really, what my takeaway was just this desire to have a drive and a work ethic and persevere, not get hung up on what's going on and blame anybody, or just kind of embrace it, say, this is what we got and this is what we're going to do to move forward and get out of it. And I remember my first job was I was going door to door as a 4th grader, knocking on doors saying, hey, can I clean the yard, clean the garage out? And there was a lady a few doors down from us, and probably just felt bad for me, and gave me my first job. And I remember just picking moss out of bricks and cleaning out the porch and the garage. But the takeaway or the response is, it was a very young age about a work ethic. And that really carried me through adolescence, high school, college, and even today.
How has that upbringing really shaped the way that you lead today?
Yeah, I think it's, having a fundamental or a foundational work ethic combined with confidence, combined with humility, and understanding that everybody has a story, really is kind of what those same characteristics carry through even today. So even like when we were coming to Florida, there was just change is coming. So we're gonna be in a new area, we're gonna be in a new market, we got to meet new people, and you just embrace it. And I think as I've been kind of a part of this growth story, those things really resonate, of just being new in a situation, embracing it into the community, into the people, and being a part of it.
So sports was a big part of your life, right? You were a walk-on athlete. You even played semi-pro baseball, which a lot of people don't know about you. What did that experience really teach you about persistence and grit? Because we talk about that. You and I talk about that every once in a while.
Yeah, that going back to the childhood, I moved 8 times before the age of 10, went to 4 schools before the 6th grade. So when you're the new kid in school, you got to kind of present yourself or sell yourself in certain ways. And I did it through athletics, right? So sports is always a big part of my youth, and I embraced it. And, when I got into college, I was a walk-on athlete. This is going back in the 1987. So there wasn't a lot of perfect game, didn't exist, and there wasn't a lot of tournaments. So there was walk-on opportunity at the University of Toledo. And there's probably 100 kids that signed up for 1 or 2 open positions. And what people don't see is the work behind the scenes. So it's all those weights, batting practice, running, throwing, getting prepared for that, in this case, of this tryout. And I remember one of my fondest memories, I guess, of a payoff was at the very end of the last of the 3-day tryout. The names are posted on this wall, and after practice, coach said, "All right, go ahead. Thanks for everybody for coming out." And I'm walking towards this list, and it's almost like in slow motion. And when the coach comes over and he goes, "Where do you think you're going?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to go look at the names, coach." He goes, "Don't bother." He goes, "We'll see you at practice tomorrow." So that was his way of telling me that I made the team, and it was kind of one of the first times it felt like hard work paid off.
How did you get into banking? Where did that come from?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So I played 1 year after college down in that semi-pro league in Orlando, and I worked out with like 9 teams. So you get this. I called it the Island of Misfit Toys because this league was all like Division I players that didn't get drafted. So I'm like, there's something wrong with all of us, And so I tried out for some few teams. This is 1992. So Colorado Rockies and the Miami Marlins were expansion teams. And Nicole, my wife now, girlfriend then, I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy because they need to fill out rookie ball, single A. They're going to be dying for players. And I worked out with the Rockies, and I had a pretty good 2 games, scrimmage, and I had a decent performance. I'm like, yeah, all right, I felt good about myself. And I go up to the scout, and he goes, "All right, hey, Cressman, good workout. We'll be in touch." And I said, "Okay." I'm like, "Hey, can I ask you, what are you looking for?" And he goes, "Well, we rank on a scale 1 to 5 in running, throwing, and hitting. Running, you're a 5. Throwing, you're 4, 3+, and in hitting, you're a 3. You're not going to make it. Go cry in a pillow and go get a real job." So talk about life lessons. So I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm like, what does that guy know? So I went and I worked out with the Kansas City Royals, couple days, practice, scrimmages. And he said, "All right, we'll be in touch." And I turned around and I go, "Hey, how do you have me ranked?" And he goes, 5, 4, 3. And I go, "Am I going to make it?" And he goes, "Nope." So I drove back to Ohio. This is 1992. Drove back to Ohio. There's no XM radio. There's no Sirius radio. It's just nothing. So I remember being completely quiet in my car, driving back up to Northeast Ohio, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. So I started working for my now father-in-law, so Nikki's dad in his business. And I appreciated the entrepreneurial spirit. My grandfather owned his own business. My uncle owned his own business. Nikki's dad owned his own business. So I appreciated the entrepreneurialism of that. But I put myself through college, and I felt like I wanted my own identity. I wanted a payoff of that hard work of getting through college. And I remember I was at Nikki's mom's house, and she goes, "What are you looking for? What do you want to do?" And I'm like, it's such a simple question, but how profound it is. It's essentially like, what are you going to do with your life? You can't hit a curveball and you got a college degree. Now what? And I go, I think I want to get into finance or banking or maybe a CPA. So I'm just throwing these things around. And she goes, "Oh, I know somebody in banking." And I go, "Oh, yeah. His name's Yank Heisler. His name's Yank because he's born on the 4th of July. Went to high school with him in Ravenna, Ohio. And he ended up playing golf at Harvard. He's a super guy. And he's at, KeyBank in Cleveland." And I said, "Okay." So remember, this is 1992. So I had to drive to the library to get the annual report. And I'm like, this guy, on the second page. And they're like, so I called 1-800 KeyBank. And I said, "Can I have Mr. Heisler's office?" And they said, "Okay." And they punched me through, and I get the administrator. And I said, "This is Cressman Bronson. May I speak with Mr. Heisler?" So my name sounds like it's somebody important. And really I was, nothing important. And she goes, "Well, is he expecting you?" And I said, "No." I said, "But tell him Connie Hart," that's my mother-in-law's maiden name. I said, "Tell him Connie Hart says hello, and I need 15 minutes of his time." She goes, "Hang on." And she comes back and she goes, "He'll see you. Come up here Tuesday at 3:00. So I go up there, and he goes, "Hey, you got a pretty good, seem like a good kid, good resume. Go get sales experience and come back in a year." I said, okay. So now I'm going down the elevator and I'm like trying to figure this riddle out. Like, sell what? Like furniture, cars,
Vacuums,
right? Door to door. And this is 1993 and unemployment was probably 8 or so %. So nobody was hiring. So I took it upon myself. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go get my Series 663 and insurance license. And I called MetLife and State Street. And then I signed up for commission. Signed up for salary, not commission, which was 800 hours a month. And that was it. And then I learned how to call people and set appointments up and follow up and all that. And I was pretty good at it. And after the first year, I'm like, man, I'm making no money. Nicole and I are ready to get married. I'm making, $800 a month. I'm like, I need a raise. So I go to my boss at MetLife and I say, hey, can I talk to you about my salary? He goes, well, you're going to get salary for another year. And then next year you'll be doing great because you'll be on commission. I'm like, man, I'm not going to live that long. I can't even afford lunch. So I said, I'm going to call Yank back. So I called Yank back, interviewed for the job. There was like 75 people coming after 4 or 5 positions. And I got one of the management training programs in a corporate bank.
That is an awesome story. I've never heard that. I love it. So you've mentioned Nikki a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of getting to know your family pretty well over the years. A lot of
basketball courts.
A lot of basketball courts, right? So Nicole, Garrett, Cressa, Brock, I love them.
Yeah.
I mean, just an amazing family. Tell me a little bit about each of them.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start with Nikki, Nicole. We met in college. We've been together for 35 years, been married, we became 30 years this December. Our first date was October 26, 1990. We went to Nick's Hungry Eye in Toledo, Ohio, and saw The Sea of Love by Al Pacino. My favorite movie is Scarface, so I was a big Al Pacino fan. So it was a good compromise of the movies. And we've been inseparable since. One of the most critical decisions you can make in life is who you're going to marry.
Oh yeah.
And, I got really lucky, with Nicole and we've been really good, balancing partners our whole lives. And she's seen me drive to these tryouts. She's seen me work with her dad. She's seen me sell insurance. She's been along for the whole ride, and we wouldn't be anywhere without her because she was put on this earth to raise kids and really helped out, especially when the kids were younger. When I was running around the state of Florida building the bank, she was home raising the kids, and it was. She's been very influential on our decisions, right? Because we were. I was doing decent up in Ohio, and we're starting the young family, and everything was like really under control. And then we bought some. I was working in National City at the time, and we bought some banks in Florida. And I remember I got approached. I was pretty good at new sales and all that, and I was asked, "Hey, do you want to go to Florida?" And I'm like, No, thank you. I said, my brand is in Ohio because of the family businesses, the sports, the colleges. Like we just knew everybody in the business community in the town. It was very comfortable, wonderful people, et cetera. And literally the next day Nikki and I and the kids are going to see her dad in Bradenton. And I get her up to speed. I'm like, oh, hey, we bought these banks and so-and-so wanted me to come down and be a corporate banker. And Nicole goes, well, what did you say? And I said I wasn't interested. She goes, did you think about it? And I go, yeah, I thought about it, went through my logic and why it made sense in my mind. And she goes, I think you should do it. She goes, you can break away from the headquarters and make a name for yourself. And if we're going to move for this company, we're going to do it before these kids are in school. And at the time, Cressa was 5 and Brock was 2.5. And I'm like, so we land, like the next day, and I call the folks back in West Palm. I'm like, hey, I was just kidding yesterday. I'm interested. So we drove across the state and did a 4-hour interview and got the job. So we've been here ever since. So it's a great representation of just the influence or impact. She could have easily said, okay, he said no, so we're not going to do it. And our life would have been on a completely different trajectory. And we've had a lot of fun and success there. Going through the kids, we'll start with Cressa. It's fun, right? And we all have a great sense of pride of our kids. And I think fundamentally the foundation of success is confidence, right? And I think sports brings that. Music and the arts can bring that, of course. But for us and our family, it was sports. It brings confidence, life lessons, failure, success, hard work, commitment, teamwork, all that stuff gets baked in there. And, and all the kids have a little bit of that competitiveness or that confidence in them. And we couldn't be more proud of each of them. And then with Cressa, I remember when she was getting ready to go apply to colleges, and she applies like the 10 or 11 schools. And she kind of just threw in there, I threw in one out of state. And we're thinking Bright Futures and Florida Prepaid. Like, why would you go out of state? And where? And she's like, I want to do like a big time, football, sorority school. And we're like, where? She's like, Alabama. We're like, Alabama? And we're like, all right, And they responded to her application very quickly. And we took our thumb off the scale because, like Nicole and I got to the University of Toledo on like two completely different paths that were kind of unexpected. And we're like, you know what? What's not influence it, let's embrace it. So we embraced the decision, and it worked out because she met her very important her boyfriend Vince at school, and it's a fun story, and it's good to have that Alabama story. A quick diversion on Alabama with Coach Saban. So a fun fact was at Toledo, I was known as a fast baseball player. I was asked to run track. So I ran track, did the indoor 55 meters. It was me and 3 wide receivers on the football team. And when the track coach approached me and said, hey, do you want to run track? I was like, no. Why would I run track? He goes, I'll make you a faster baseball player. I'm like, oh, good sales job. So my sprint coach was the 1980 Chinese Olympic sprint coach. And he taught me how to relax. The more relaxed you are, the more fluid you are. And he got my 40 time down. And I enjoyed doing the indoor track. And that's how Nicole and I met. So we talk about those decisions. If I didn't run track, we probably wouldn't have met. And then another fun fact was I was one of the fastest on the 4 sprint team for the 55 meters. And then the football coach heard about me. And so I get called into the special teams office. He goes, hey, do you want to play football? And I'm like, well, what would I do? He's like, kickoff returns and punt returns. And I'm like, no, thank you. And I was still delusional. I thought I was going to be a Major League Baseball player and didn't want to risk the injury. However, it's one of my biggest regrets in life because it would have been cool to play 3 Division I sports. And our coach at the time in 1990 was none other than Nick Saban. So Coach Saban there was our coach. So it's a fun story. So anyways, that's Cressa. We're very proud of her. We're very appreciative of everything that's going on here for her in Palm Beach Gardens. And we're happy to have her, local and be a part of her journey in life. Brock, there's some parallels with Brock. Brock is a very smooth, calm, collected athlete. And he's doing very well, both academically and athletically. And one thing about Brock in like junior high, he didn't make the baseball or basketball teams, right? So a lot of kids will stop playing sports because they get rejected, right? So you take that path like, no, I'm not good enough, so let me do something else. Brock quietly just continued to work out on his own, and really perfect his craft, his passion for baseball. Nicky always says he's more of a natural basketball player than baseball, so it was fun to watch him in both. And so there was a good life lesson in there about perseverance, and everything's not easy. You got to work for some things. And he did decent at Jupiter High, and he's on a very competitive Division II school in Flagler, big pitching staff, and he's working his way up through there, and he's doing a good job. So we embrace every moment. So it's still fun to kind of go watch him play baseball, and see him continue on his journey. And then Garrett, so we call Garrett our kind of our bonus kid, right? So he's our nephew, but we consider him our third child. And his mother unexpectedly passed away when he was 10. And so when they were in Northeast Ohio, and then he moved in with his grandmother, my mother-in-law, Nikki's mom, and it was working, right? And then Connie got ill, and we had kind of focus on her health and her recovery, and she's doing excellent. But there was a time where it was just too much. So we had a conversation and had him, at the time, Cress is only a year younger. Brock's only, 3 years younger. So it made sense. Our household's running 100 miles an hour anyway, so we feathered him right in. But when we brought Garrett down, he was a little introverted, understandably so, and it's all new, area for him. And he gets here like kind of day one. I'm like, hey, we signed you up for baseball. You got practice tonight. He's like, what? He's like, I don't know anybody. I don't want to go. I don't know if I want to play baseball. I'm like, hey, we're coming. So we take him to Roger Dean. We drop him off. We're watching him. And again, it's being thrusted into the community, and embrace the change that's coming, and it's inevitable. So he gets done with baseball and he goes, can I play basketball instead? And we're like, absolutely. So he played travel basketball and then he ended up playing football and he played at Jupiter High School and even became the homecoming king at Jupiter High. And we just really enjoy watching him kind of flourish and with confidence in his young adult, and dual enrolled his senior year and got through North Florida in 3.5 years in finance. And he's working for the bank in our Austin market.
He's crushing it too, right? He's doing really good.
He's doing great. And another fun fact about Garrett is like he didn't like to travel, and so we were going to see my brother in Ireland. And he's like, well, I don't know if I want to go. And we're like, oh, come on. We kind of essentially throw him on the plane. And then it comes to just a couple of years ago, Garrett calls and says, hey, my friend and I are just going to go to Tokyo and hang out for a week, and had no reservations. This went from Airbnb to Airbnb. But to me, it's a great representation of just what a positive, confident individual can do. And it's a fun story.
Yeah, they're all three great kids. Love them. Nicole is the best. Yeah. She's just a wonderful human being. She really, really is. Do you and Nicole have any non-negotiables when it comes to balancing family life and managing your work schedule? Because I know you travel like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I remember it's probably when the kids were in junior high, probably after Garrett joined the family. Nikki made it a priority. She's like, we're going to make memories. Okay. Like, what kind of memories? What are you talking about? We're going to do trips. So we've been to, like I said, we've been to Ireland, California, DC, New York, Keys, Cabo. And so it's those moments where everybody's together, and the fun that they had. We've been on all these trips, and my grandparents bought cottages in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan back in the 1950s in Curtis, Michigan, and in the Upper Peninsula is a special place. But we had some summer vacations up there, and it's a great place for the kids and the cousins to hang out. So we took the kids up there, and if you ask them today, like, hey, what's your most favorite trip, they say, oh, the one in Upper Peninsula, Michigan and Curtis. And it's just because of the family component of it. All the cousins were there hanging out. So that's kind of was the priority, is just, we're going to go on family trips together. We're going to create these memories that last a lifetime for these kids. And we hope that we set the precedent. So when they start having their own families, that tradition carries on.
So let's get into PNC a little bit and your job at PNC Bank. You've been doing this for over a decade here for PNC Bank, right? Yeah.
So I've been in Florida. This is our 19th year in Florida. I was brought down to as a corporate banker and then start a commercial bank for the whole state of Florida. I've been in my current position as regional president for 12 and a half years.
So how has your job changed since when you first got here to where it is today?
Yeah, a lot. So PNC, it's a great growth story. Our leadership, our executive and CEOs and leadership had the vision even back then to make PNC a national bank, and it's through growth, right? And it's our tagline today is brilliantly boring since 1865, and it's a good representation. It's a play on words, of course, but just our conservative nature, our sophisticated products and solutions that we provide our clients, kind of delivered locally. So the different, going through a growth, really the foundation is this regional president model. So there's 53 regions throughout the country. Each region has a president like myself, and we have responsibility for the 3 lines of business: corporate banking, private banking, retail banking. And probably the most important role of the regional president is that we each chair the local PNC Foundation, right? So we're given a budget where we give back philanthropically. So we do grants and then sponsorships. And to me, that's establishes the brand and our commitment to the communities.
What does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So it's funny when the kids were younger, when they were asking, like, trying to understand what I do. I think Shark Tank was a good example. Like, so from a credit perspective, it's kind of like that. Regional president is a little different. I could be in a tuxedo. I could be in golf attire. I could be in a suit. I could be in, so it's being a part of the community, but it's also being there for our employees. And going on client meetings. So it's a terrific balance of the business community, the retail community, the private banking community, and then the community or nonprofit community.
So you talked about the growth, right? I think banking as a whole is evolving really, really fast, especially from a tech standpoint, right? And mobile access. I can't tell you when was the last time I went into a bank, right?
Yeah.
What's something that you're especially proud of when it comes to PNC serving the community?
Yeah, there's a few things. So the foundation committee is a big deal. And our main philanthropic initiative at PNC is early childhood education. So 21 years ago, we started a program called Grow Up Great. And that is a $500 million commitment to help primarily underprivileged children between the ages of 0 to 5 get prepared for school and for life. So since in those 21 years, we've provided service to over 10 million kids. We give every employee 40 hours a year to read to children. And we've accumulated over 1.2 million hours of reading. So that, the kindergarten readiness is around 50%. And the kids that come from lower and moderate income communities, it's important for early brain development. 80 to 85% of your brain is fully developed by the age of 2.5, 3. Every child's born with 100 billion neurons. And when you read to the child at 1 second old, the neurons connect and form the physical brain. And a child from a lower and moderate income community will hear an average of 30 million less words in the first 2 years of life. So smaller brain development, not ready for kindergarten. If you're not ready for kindergarten, you're probably not going to pass your 3rd grade reading test, probably not going to graduate. So we rewind the clock all the way to 0 to 5, train these teachers. We provide over 100 free curriculum. We partner with Sesame Street and Fred Rogers. So that's very rewarding, especially when you go in and volunteer into these centers and read to the kids and see the impact. And you can't help but think, you just got to reach one of these kids and inspire them just a little bit. So that, and then our community development. So think health and human services.
When you're out in the community, I mean, you're out there with a lot of different people, business owners, community leaders. What are you hearing? What are they telling you that really sticks out?
In regards to kind of the community involvement?
Yeah.
I think everybody really appreciates the focus on early childhood education. Mm-hmm. I'm taken back a little bit on sometimes I feel like they're hearing it for the first time. Like, oh, there's an early education situation, and you're kind of like, yeah, and there's a lot of fortunate, blessed people that everything's fine, but there is a population that needs that. So, when people, we get support, but sometimes it feels like we're telling a story for the first time. It's getting much more awareness, through the Florida Chamber and other organizations, Early Childhood Coalition, and all the programs that are here in Palm Beach and in Florida in general. So it's getting, I feel, more and more momentum. One of the turnoff questions are, hey, have you guys, why are you guys investing in that? What's the return on that investment? And I said, but these are our future employees, community members, and it's the right thing to do, and we're making an impact.
What's something that you would love to see more from business leaders when it comes to early education?
Yeah, I think there's a tremendous amount of team building and perspective. We're all busy. Right? Everybody's running around doing a lot of great things. I think when you take a moment and pause and can give back a little bit, form a team, go into an early learning center, read to the kids, help build a park, spend some time there. It rejuvenates you as an individual. And then you get back to work and it puts things almost like in proper perspective or recalibration. Like, it allows you to focus on the important things. And so I think that what I like to see is I know a lot of companies are doing some wonderful things in the community to make it strong, but in regards to early childhood, I think I'd like to see a little bit more involvement of just kind of volunteering these centers and trying to make an influence and an impact.
What are some of the biggest gaps right here in our community, right here in our backyard?
In regards to early childhood?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're still around 50% kindergarten readiness. And then even the third grade reading test is still there at around that same percentage. So I think, we all aspire to get it to 100%. And I think it goes all the way to 0 to 5. And to me, it's kind of, I'm very passionate about it. So I have an appreciation for it, but it's that foundational learning. Like once that is established, it really sets up the child to be more successful. So I think the gaps are, making sure that we don't lose sight on what's really important and focus on those 0 to 5, especially in the LMI, low and moderate income communities.
Awesome. Well, I want to get back into a little bit more about your work at PNC Bank. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick little 60-second break for our friends at Tampa General.
Excellent.
All right, so we're talking with Dr. Karim Ankou about Tampa General's new kidney stone clinic. Doc, I guess kidney stones are like common enough that we really need a program like that?
Yes, definitely. Especially during the summer months when people are prone to dehydration, which is the number one cause for kidney stones. And actually right where we live is called the Stone Belt. It's all the way from North Carolina to Florida. And just by living here, we're twice as likely to have kidney stones compared to elsewhere in the country.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. How does a kidney stone clinic work?
I see time and time again patients that come in and see me after they're suffering with stones for 10 to 20 years, and they had no idea I could help. I want to start seeing those patients after their first stone, not after they've been suffering for 10 to 20 years. And that's what this kidney stone clinic's all about. It's teamwork between the urologists who take care of the current stones and nephrologists like myself who help prevent future stones from occurring.
So who would benefit most from a clinic like this?
High-risk patients. So people who have had a stone, people whose mother or father have had a stone, as well as people whose jobs lead them more towards dehydration, like roofers, construction workers, even teachers. People like those would benefit from giving us a call.
Awesome, Doc. Well, this was great. And that was your Medical Minute brought to you by our friends at TGH. All right, we're back. So with such a big team across so many different lines of business, how do you keep everyone focused on impact and results?
Yeah, I think it's being engaged, right? So when you think about where we started and how many people we've brought on to this organization, everybody has that entrepreneurial spirit. We're all builders of this bank and this brand because, our brand awareness 15 years ago, no one knew us. I was explaining to people who PNC was. Today, it feels a lot different. So we're all I view it as we're all stars, if you will, the banking all-stars, to put in a sports analogy. And it's a lot of fun. From a company perspective, we do a couple of things. We have a partnership with an organization called Guild. And what that does is it provides funding for further education and training. So that helps on the engagement. We're giving back and encouraging further education and training. And then we also have EBRGs, so employee business resource groups. So these are like-minded individuals that come together and talk about career paths, and that's allows the employees to be very engaged. We encourage our employees to raise their hand for opportunities in different lines of business or different geographies. So you don't run away from talking to your manager. You kind of embrace it and say you have an interest in a career pursuit. I do a lot of mentorships. I find a lot of gratification out of mentoring young bankers and help navigate their careers. I remind all of the managers, some executive gave us a break at some point, in our careers, always. And let's embrace that, and you be that executive or be that manager that helps somebody navigate their careers.
What's something that people don't really realize about your day-to-day as regional president?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're probably getting a little bit of a flavor for it because my day can be sitting in a publicly traded debt structure conversation. It could be dealing with a small business owner. It could be dealing with a new company. It could be dealing with a 50-year relationship. It could be dealing with a nonprofit. The geography is something that maybe people don't appreciate. So my region of Southeast Florida is Melbourne through Miami and the Keys. So we're kind of in the middle of that. It's about 90 miles north to Melbourne and 90 miles south to Miami. And last year I rented 150 days worth of car rentals from Palm Beach International. So we know the folks, our friends at the car rental place on a first name basis. So a lot of travel, but to me, it's the finger on the pulse of the market in the region, and I like to be kind of present in all the markets within the region.
Is there like a recent project or a team win that's really reminded you why you do this?
Yeah, there's a lot there's a lot under that category. We've provided tens of millions of dollars to hundreds of organizations over the last 15 years in South Florida. There's special projects, whether it's at the Cox Center, the coalitions, the partnerships that we have, primarily around the early education part of it. Our friends at Kravis and Norton, the Cultural Council of the art community. So, kids and art and giving back. Palm Beach Symphony. There's just endless relationships, and everybody's trying to make the community better. And so there's a long list of that, but I really appreciate the embracement of this community and help us participate in achieving those goals.
Let's talk about business ownership. You are in front of small and large businesses every single day.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give someone that's looking to start or grow their business?
Yeah, it's really about partnerships, and entrepreneurs, and I've known entrepreneurs, I guess essentially my whole life. They're very good at what they're at their business, right? Whether it's construction, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's logistics, whether it's service, you got to surround yourself around good partners. Get a good CPA. Get a good attorney, get good counsel, get a board, get an advisory board, have somebody tell you what you don't want to hear, because sometimes that's very helpful in the sustainability of the business. When you see companies struggle, it's typically when they don't surround themselves around partners. They get maybe too much leverage and debts, and then you're one catastrophe away from not being successful. So that's always been my counsel, whether you're kind of publicly traded or a large middle market company or a small business, is surround yourself around the good partners.
How do you help your team stay grounded with this crazy world right now, right? There's so much uncertainty there.
Yeah.
How do you guys stay grounded and help your business owners get through all the day-to-day issues?
To me, it's staying focused on what you can control. And I kind of remind the bankers and clients that too, like you can't control Fed funds. You can't control the Dow, the stock market, it is what it is. Control about what, focus on the things you can control: customer service, efficiencies, partnerships. And I remind the bankers, be in front of clients. They want to hear from you in good times or in bad times. Don't shy away because you might have a difficult conversation. Kind of embrace it and be viewed as that advisor, and focus on those things that you can control. And, it builds and strengthens the relationship.
We touched on this earlier, right? You've had a lot of success in sports. You've had a lot of success in business. How do you think sports really help shape your work ethic and leadership?
Yeah, I think a simple takeaway would be you got to have a process, right? And for me personally, that was kind of my parallel. So for sports, my process was working out, hitting, running, throwing, pass your classes so you can be academically eligible, focus on those things. And in business, it's much the same. Right? So the process would be following up with clients within 24 hours, understanding the solution, understanding the company's needs, provide a value proposition on solutions for your customers. So it's kind of generically formulate a process and be regimented about it. It's easy to get complacent, but have the discipline and the skill set to execute that on a very consistent basis.
This could be a fun one. So what's something that you've learned from watching your kids?
Yeah.
Something that you've learned from them that's really changed your perspective on everything that you do?
Yeah, I think it's probably the sense of pride that you get from watching them be happy and engaged, right? We all have stories and backgrounds, and I think when you can make your kids' lives just a little bit better than your own, then I think that's a real mark of success and great sense of happiness to watch your kids succeed and be able to focus and not be focused on or burdened with things that slow you down or chew into that confidence. So that's kind of been my biggest takeaway. Another one is I'm remarkably surprised at how they know how to clean their house or their apartments or dorm rooms and how the washing machine works, because when they're at home as adolescents, like that was all a mystery. But then when you go to their apartments and their college dorms, like the room's clean, the laundry's done. I'm like, okay, thank God you were watching and listening to your mother. It finally paying off.
Yeah, that's all Nikki. You get no credit for any of that.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
So let's talk about the future, right? PNC's done some really cool partnerships lately. You talked a little bit about the Cox Science Center. You're doing some really cool stuff with mobile branches. You've got this new Marlins partnership that's really cool.
Yeah.
What's something coming up that you're really excited about?
Yeah, so a lot of focus on Miami. That's a growth market for us. So we're in our 5th year down there. The Marlins are great partners of ours, and they're playing terrific baseball, by the way. They're
on fire right now.
Swept the Yankees. Yeah. And I think they're the second best record in the last 2 months. So it is fun to watch the folks show up there. So we have the PNC Club down there, and it's a lot of fun. We're the official U.S. bank for the Miami Open. That's exciting. We're also going to partner up with Miami Art Week. So there's just a lot of good visual partnerships that we're having in a very new market for us. And it's a lot of fun and a lot of excitement.
Continuing on the future, right? So there are a lot of banks like PNC out there doing some really good stuff for the community. How do you keep pushing forward? Like, how do you keep pushing the boundaries to make sure that good things are happening in the community?
Yeah, again, I would bring it almost full circle as having that process, right? So our process is this regional president model, which draws really good bankers and retains really good bankers, which draws in really good clients and retains really good clients. And I think it's a balance of that. So I think it's a balance of business and community, and continuing to give back into the nonprofits and making our community stronger and stronger, I think is a recipe that really works.
So we talked about this earlier. You've been doing this for a long time. We talked about a lot of the changes, but we didn't really get into what's better or what's worse. So what's better in the banking industry than it was before, and what's worse?
I think there's technology is hard to bypass that. So the efficiencies, the quality of solutions continues to get better and better. You mentioned the mobile banking. We have several of these mobile banks. Those that are in my age group, the old bookmobiles is what it kind of reminds me of. So it's a full service branch on a 30-wheeled device that has full banking capabilities. 1 in 4 Floridians don't have a bank account. And then you're forced to go to these check cashing places, and it's not, the best way to go. So we have these financial education classes, and we get onto the communities. We park these mobile branches, branch mobile, into the parking lots of organizations that are in these communities, and it's making a tremendous impact.
As you look forward, what's one big goal, both personally and professionally, that you're still chasing?
Yeah, it's a good question because you don't really pause and think about it until it's done. And I feel like I'm right in the middle of it. We've had a lot of success growing out the state and in the country. We're one of 4 banks doing business coast to coast. We're the 6th largest bank from an asset size. We're the 4th largest bank from a retail size. So my focus is really to get the Miami market, up and running, and we're on a tremendous path there. So I think professionally, it's making sure that the Miami market is successful, and then it's about kind of almost next generation of leaderships. Through my mentorship, and I think ultimately, I remind the managers this: ultimately, your job is to find your replacement. And not to make yourself out of a job, but to pull up the rising talent. So to me, that professionally, that's a big focus of mine. Is we built this wonderful region, make terrific partnerships, and now let's keep it going so it's sustainable. And I'm very confident that it is. Personally. Golf's got to be on the list somewhere. I still haven't hit a hole in one. Yeah. So that's definitely on the list. And, somebody explained why golf is so popular, I guess, with some of us. And it's because it's an endless problem solving opportunity. Every stroke is like, I got a little bit of wind. I got a bad lie. I got water. I got this, I got a problem solving. And then you hit it. And then you got another problem solving, whether it's a putt and the curve and all that. So personally, it's, watching the kids go to the next phase. Brock is an incoming junior, so he's going to be on the verge of getting out into the real world. And then, then it's, families and starting that fun phase of it. And I'm looking forward to the next, 5 years or so, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and can't wait to see Nicole as Mimi or Grandma or whatever she's going to go by, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
She's got to be jonesing. I mean, she's got to be ready like right now. Knowing Nicole, she's got to be ready to be Grandma.
It's fun. And we enjoy every phase, and that one's going to be no exception.
Awesome. So you're almost off the hook. Okay. A couple more. Almost out of here. I know I got to get you out of here. So I ask everyone this question. Like, we talk about legacy all the time. We all do. What do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, it's, I haven't really thought about that. And I guess, kind of looking back, I guess when my career is over, is that here's somebody that cared about the clients, cared about the community, came into a new territory in Florida, specifically Southeast Florida, and made a positive difference in the community, business community and the nonprofit community. So I think professionally, I think that would be, nice to be acknowledged for that. You try not to look for credit. I never look for credit, but you're asking the question. So I guess that's how I'll answer it. And I guess personally, it's probably, I think somebody said, the sign of the successful parents are when your kids want to hang out with you. So I think personally, that would be my goal, I guess, as a legacy, is that I want my kids and grandkids to kind of hang out with us, and we want to be cool older people and whatever that means. But that's definitely a goal personally.
Well, I've got one last question. I have no idea how it ended up on my list of questions. Someone at the chamber must have wrote this down.
Probably have a pretty good idea.
But someone back at the chamber wants to know who your favorite child is.
That depends on the day of the week.
I was going to say, don't answer that because you're going to get in trouble. Cressman, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate you taking the time to spend with our listeners. You've got such a great story to tell, and I'm glad that we're able to share it with everyone.
I appreciate you, everything you're doing for the community, and thank you for having me on. It was great. It was a pleasure.
Where can people get more information on PNC Bank? It's hard not to find PNC Bank.
PNC.com, right? There's everything there. Reach out, and we're more than happy to help.
All right, Cressman. Well, thank you so much. That's all we got for you today. This was awesome. Make sure to like, follow, tell all your friends about all the amazing things going on, and go check out that Grow Up Great program. They're doing some really, really good stuff for our community. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.